What's up, YouTube? Back at it again with another banger video. This time we're embarking on a new quest, a new Odyssey, if you will. We're looking at Jim Starlin and Mike Mignola's Cosmic Odyssey. This was published by DC Comics. Here's the credits. We got Jim Starlin, writer, Mike Mignola, penciler, Carlos Garzon, inker, Steve Oliff, colorist, and John Workman as letterer. This was a 4-part series. And the thing you'll notice as I'm flipping through this, there are no clearly delineated chapter breaks like we saw in Superman for All Seasons or Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I've just put sticky notes where I think the chapter breaks would go in the individual issues. But this is the collected version, and it's laid out like a graphic novel. So we start off, it's Gotham City 6 months ago. There's a boom tube. If you've read any of the New Gods, Mr. Miracle, Forever people, then you're probably familiar with these boom tubes. They're how people from those books can travel great distances. It's like a teleportation device. And these are parademons from Apocalypse, which is Darkseid's domain. And they've come here to take over Earth. And Light Ray, one of the people of New Genesis, one of the heroes, has come before them to warn Superman. And they're here in Gotham City to defeat these parademons before they can take over the Earth. They make quick work of these guys. They all retreat into this boom tube. But they don't realize that one of the parademons was left behind, and he's stranded in Gotham City. Next, we see a boom tube open up somewhere else on a distant planet on the rim of the Alpha Centauri solar system. There's another boom tube that opens up, and we see the character Metron, who's also of New Genesis. He crash lands, and he's not doing well. Something's happened to him. He's not right. Darkseid shows up to rescue Metron. Metron is a character. He's sort of like a Brainiac type of character, where his ultimate goal is just to collect knowledge. You know, he must learn things. He's sort of the god of knowledge and technology. So they take Metron and his Mobius chair. That's what this device he's sitting in is called. They take him back to Apocalypse. That's here. That's the sister planet to New Genesis. And they take him back there, and he has Desaad. That's this guy. Desaad is one of Darkseid's scientists. They're looking over the device, looking over Metron, trying to figure out what happened to him. Where has he been, and what did this to him? Back in Gotham City, we see Gotham City in daylight. That's kind of rare. It's normally always dark in Gotham. But yeah, we're back in Gotham City. Batman's here, Commissioner Gordon, and they're investigating the disappearance of a police officer. Commissioner Gordon says that this is the 10th person to disappear in this area in 6 months. So Batman, he comes back here later in a disguise. You know, Batman says that the streets are abandoned because, you know, so many people have gone missing in the past 6 months. As he's walking around here, we see him, his disguise is just a hat and a trench coat. He's wearing his Batman costume underneath. I just think that's so funny. It doesn't last very long, though. By the end of the page, he's ditched the hat and trench coat. But he hears this manhole cover drop, ka-clink, and that's how he figures out, you know, after he hears that, he's like, oh, the guy must be using the sewer system to get around. And that's how he's, you know, kidnapping people. So he goes down into the sewers. He sees these scratch marks high up on the wall. He figures out this guy must be tall. He's walking around the sewers. He hears these sounds, these screeching sounds. Goes in, he finds its lair where this guy's been hiding out. And the person who he's following is, of course, the parademon that got left behind. he also finds the Parademon's backpack. He realizes that he's dealing with an alien. He smells something coming from behind this curtain, pulls back the curtain, and he sees the some of the people who've disappeared in the area lately. The Parademon's been eating them. Batman, he's like sick to his stomach. He runs away, and that's when he hears the Parademon coming down the hall. He hides right underneath it. And you can tell Batman's not prepared. He says, "I tell myself to stay out of sight and return later with backup." I like that this version of Batman isn't always so prepared. You know, in some versions of these stories, Batman, he's like his superpower is his over-preparedness. And in this series, you know, he's not a mega genius like other stories make him out to be. He realizes he can't wait. He has to do something. So he tries to disarm this guy of his gun. He gets thrown against the wall, kicks the Parademon. He's just totally outmatched. He's just trying to stay alive. This Parademon has a knife. Batman picks up Parademon's gun. He says, "I normally don't like using weapons, especially firearms, but I'm flexible, able to adapt to this situation." So he uses the Parademon's gun against him and blasts a hole through the guy's chest. So Batman leaves to get backup, and he comes back with Gordon and a couple of police. And when they get there, the guy's gone. The body's gone. So they don't know if he got up and left or if someone came back and moved the body. And then it cuts away to Washington, D.C. The new gods have come to Earth to form diplomatic relations. They've asked Earth to send back some of their people to New Genesis. And they requested specific people, of course, Superman, Martian Manhunter, Starfire, Batman, Green Lantern, and Jason Blood. So those are the Earth diplomats. And this guy, his name's Lonar. He's been asked to bring them back to New Genesis. You have to use a boom tube to get back to New Genesis. They are planets like out in outer space, but they're in a sort of separate dimension. They're not able to be traveled to by like a spaceship or something. So they use the boom tube. They get to New Genesis. It's like a idyllic place. It's like a paradise. It's the opposite of Apocalypse. Here's Highfather. He is the leader of New Genesis, just like Darkseid is the leader of Apocalypse. And with him is Lightray and Orion. Lightray is the character we saw with Superman in the beginning of the story. Now Orion, he's a warlike character. He's kind of the god of war of these stories. And he's actually the biological son of Darkseid. There was a truce in the New God stories where Highfather and Darkseid, they swap sons as a part of this agreement. So Scott Free, Mr. Miracle, who was actually Highfather's son, he went to live with Darkseid on Apocalypse, and Orion, who is really Darkseid's son, went to live with Highfather. So this team is brought to New Genesis, and they're explained that this wasn't just a call for diplomacy out of the blue, that they actually need their help. And this idea was just a plan to get these characters to show up here. They turn the corner, and who do they see? Darkseid. Darkseid has threatened Earth many times, and Superman is not a fan of him. So it's just on sight. Superman immediately attacks him, and it doesn't go well. Darkseid's pretty tough for a guy who wears a skirt all the time. Orion has to hold Superman back. But Darkseid explains that he's come in peace, that it's in both of their interests to team up against this new threat. See, he's gone back through the Mobius chair's memory banks, and he has deciphered what went on to Metron and what led him to be stranded on that planet. So if you've read any of the 70s Jack Kirby work, you're probably familiar with the Antilife equation, or you've heard Darkseid talk about it. That's Darkseid's ultimate goal. He's always trying to find the Antilife equation to destroy free will, to subjugate, the living organisms. And this story kind of explains what that is. The Jack Kirby comics never really explain too much of what it actually is, and never got too specific. This comic does a lot to explain exactly what it is and what it does, and how it came to be. So Highfather is telling this story about these two races who were at war, and there was this scientific race and this barbaric race. And this scientific race, they were developing these weapons. The scientists were working on new equations to construct better weapons to defeat these barbarians. One of the equations was the Antilife equation. It said it took them thousands of years to figure out the equation, hundreds more years to construct a device strong enough to utilize the equation. But once they use it, it destroys their planet. It breaks it apart into two separate halves. And that's eventually what leads to the sister planets of Apocalypse and New Genesis. It's the remains of this divided world. This is a story of hubris, of these scientists who unlock this power that's too much for them. It's sort of an analogy for like the atomic bomb. They tap into something that's more dangerous than they could have ever imagined, and it releases Antilife, which is now explained to be a sentient thing. It is a creature. It is not just a concept. They said that this Antilife exists within the Antilife dimension, and that they're safe from it as long as it remains there. And they continue the story. This is where they reveal, one side became New Genesis, the other side became Apocalypse, and thousands of years later, this is where we are now. The Antilife exists within that Antilife dimension, but Metron, in his quest for knowledge, has traveled into that dimension and tampered with the barrier. Darkseid explains that he's learned all he can from the Mobius chair, but Metron himself has gone sort of into a vegetative state. He's kind of comatose right now, and that's why they've called in Martian Manhunter to read his mind. Martian Manhunter does the mind meld with him. He's able to read his thoughts. He sees Metron in the Mobius chair travel into the antimatter dimension. Metron immediately regrets his decision once he witnesses the great evil that is the Antilife, who's represented by this giant void here. He quickly calculates a way to return back to his dimension, but as he's traveling back, the Antilife reaches out to him, and the four fingers that reach out get closed off in the snare of this portal, and they're broken off, so the four fingers follow him back into his dimension. And they're referred to as the aspects. The four aspects travel back with him, and now they're in our dimension. Four aspects are looking for a way to break down the dimensional barrier to let Antilife into our universe. Darkseid explains that the only way that barrier can be broken is if a star system is collapsed. That will open up a void for the Antilife to get into to our world fully, not just his four aspects. So he explains that there's four planets. We have Earth, Ran, Thanagar, and Xanshi. If any of those two planets were to ever be destroyed, then that would cause a gravitational disturbance within the universe and cause the galaxy to implode on itself. So that's why they've called this team together. The four planets, they're all being attacked by one of these aspects, the finger of the Antilife. And the plot of this story is they're breaking up into teams of two and going after these aspects. Darkseid has created these catcher guns, They're kind of like the Ghostbuster guns. That's how they work. They capture the aspects, but they look more like the Gantz weapons. If any of you are familiar with that. So after they've explained the quest, they all have their missions. They're broken up into teams. We have Orion and Superman, Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, Light Ray, Starfire, and Forager, and Batman. Forager is a bug character from New Genesis. So we have our Earth heroes and 3 New Genesis characters who are along to help. And I think that's where the first issue would end. Like I said, there's no chapter breaks in this story, so I just had to put these sticky notes here to delineate where one chapter ends and another one begins. And I think that's where this would be a good stopping point for the first issue. So if you've enjoyed this, please like, comment, and press that subscribe button. We've got 3 more chapters to go. Hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.